seconds. All right, so thank you again. This is Neighbors Caring for Neighbors, and I will hand it over to Lisa Cole and Jonathan Groves.
Thank you, Sharon. We are so grateful for you and INRC putting together this opportunity to reach out and connect with the community and what we do. And so we're very grateful for all your effort in making that happen. I know we've got more people that are going to be signing on, so it looks like a really great group tonight. And thank you to all of you who are out there listening and participating tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time, and particularly at the end of a work day, which I'm sure are always longer days anyway. So thank you so much for having us. I think we'll go ahead and start with the first slide, Sharon. And you can skip to the next one. So what we hope to do tonight is to tell you a little bit more about NeighborLink Indianapolis. I've been with the organization a little over a year. Jonathan's been here since closer to the first of this year. But what we've noticed, I think, in our roles is that a lot of people aren't familiar with what NeighborLink Indianapolis does. We're probably one of the best kept secrets in town. So tonight is an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about what we do, how we do it. And then as we look forward to the future and how we want to increase impact, we really want to brainstorm with you around that and get your engagement in that process. So NeighborLink Indianapolis is a small nonprofit that started in late 2013. It was actually started by a retired individual from Lilly. His name is Dave Withy, and Dave is very handy. And so as he was looking at his retirement, he was wanting something meaningful to do. So he just started to do kind of odd handyman jobs, you know, did some repairs for his mother-in-law. And what started to happen was word of mouth really spread very quickly. And he found that what was maybe a few dozen opportunities turned quickly into hundreds of opportunities, and he realized he had something more on his hands than he alone could handle. So he reached out to a couple of like-minded friends of his, and they researched different programs and came up with the model that is NeighborLink Indianapolis today. Our focus, our mission is providing critical home repairs for homeowners who are either seniors or someone with a disability living in Marion County, but they're living at or below 150% of the federal poverty line. We provide these repairs at no cost to the homeowner so that they can continue to age in place safely and with dignity. From the very beginning, NeighborLink has been a volunteer-powered organization. It wasn't up until a couple of years ago that we even had any paid staff. So we have relied from the very beginning on volunteers, and that model is held true today. We get volunteers as individuals doing projects, and we also get a lot of volunteers through groups. So these could be groups from a church or a business, schools. We've actually started connecting with some of our medical schools here in the community and nursing schools. Other nonprofit organizations, youth organizations, all organizations wanting to come out and make a difference in the community. And I will say that it's been impressive to me. Again, as I said, I started with NeighborLink a little over a year ago. So I started in June 2020. So obviously we were in the thick of COVID and restricted practices. And so we felt very grateful that we were able to bring out 11 different groups to do projects with us. But I'm happy to report and that was to the end of 2020. But I'm happy to report that as we are wrapping up our group projects for this year in 2021, we have brought out 34 different groups. So I think that speaks to our community wanting to be out and helping, serving others, and we're excited about what the future holds. We get our financial support from grants, donations, corporate giving, and local government funding. That's what enables us to pay for our materials and supplies, and also when we need to bring in skilled labor to do projects that are beyond a volunteer's skill level. When we recruit volunteers, we tell them that they do not need to have any certain skills to join us in a project, just a heart to serve. But needless to say, we also are very excited when we come across those volunteers that are handy, and we look to put them in more complex types of projects. As I said, we started out as a volunteer-powered organization, but now we have grown up to a staff of 8, and then we have a few paid handy professionals. Next slide. So here are just some visual examples of NeighborLink volunteers out in the community. Next. And here are some of our volunteer groups that we've brought out, and you can see that they're all ages, shapes, and sizes, and we've just been very blessed by the number of volunteers that we've had come out for our projects. Next. So when NeighborLink started, I think that our founder, Dave Withy, was certainly on the right path to be focused solely on seniors and those with disabilities. And little did everyone know at the time that need was going to grow even bigger. So now I think we look at this organization that's 8+ years old, and the need is even greater. It's estimated by 2030 in Indiana, 1 in 5 Hoosiers will be 65 and older, and we know that 90% of older adults want to age in place. So how do people find NeighborLink Indianapolis? Self-referrals, families, friends. We have a client services number, and Jonathan will be sharing that in his slides. Also, we get referrals from case managers, social workers, other health professionals, referrals from 211, Marion County Public Health Department, and SECOA as well. I will say that we have a very strong working relationship with Marion County Public Health Department. I know that when someone is contacted or visited by them, that can be a very scary process, and someone can feel very lost and not know how to follow forward with trying to handle or mitigate the citation. But because the Marion County Health Department from the very beginning with NeighborLink has had such a close relationship, they either contact us with referrals or they give our contact information directly to the homeowner, and we reach them that way. So I think that that is such a strong relationship that we have with the health department, and we've seen so many grateful homeowners that what started as a point of near despair on their part becomes something that has a positive outcome as a result of NeighborLink being able to get in there. So this has been the way that we have gotten the types of referrals and identified projects through the years, and up until this point, in these 8 years, we've done roughly 3,000 different projects. But as we move forward, and this is the point of tonight in the discussion, we are interested in looking at other ways that we can connect more directly in the neighborhoods. We know that we have specific zip codes that we are in frequently. And so being able to connect with all of you tonight to hear from you, from neighborhood associations, CDCs, other resources in the community. This is what we want to look ahead to as we move forward with increasing the impact for NeighborLink. So building upon how people find us now, we're wanting to work with you to how we can work together to impact even more homeowners in our community. Next slide. Jonathan.
All right, thanks, Lisa. And if anybody's coming in late, my name is Jonathan Groves. I am Director of Operations for NeighborLink. It's great to be with you all. I live over on the Near East side of Indianapolis, love being in the city. And it's great to see so many of you all. I know some of you all have connections as well to Mapleton Fall Creek. I am one of the pastors at a church there in Mapleton Fall Creek as well, and we actually have our offices there. So lots of great connections to neighborhoods in the city. And I'll echo what Lisa said. As we're thinking about partnerships, connections, even the opportunity for homeowners from people from this group to go back and to talk to their neighbors and others connected with their neighborhood associations and organizations to be able to share with them about NeighborLink to make those connections. We know there is so much need. And as Lisa said, it's oftentimes just a case of someone not knowing that we can come and help them, not knowing that we're around to help them. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sort of how our process works. Once I'm done with this, we'll open up some time for questions. So if you've got a question, hold on to it. We're looking forward to answering it. But once we receive a call from a homeowner, generally they call and they've either been referred to us or they found out about us. They'll call our main number, which is the number you see right there, 317-286-2740. They will call, and generally the way our system works is they will leave a message, and then we have a phone intake volunteer call them back. So that phone intake volunteer calls them back and gets basic information that we want to confirm that they are in fact in our service area, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. We want to confirm that they are that they meet our criteria, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And we want to confirm that the issue that they have is something that falls within the scope of issues that we can address. So if all those things are the case, if the homeowner qualifies, then the next step is that we do an actual in-person vetting. We have a director of client relations, and his job is to go out, meet with the homeowners, verify any information we need. We might need a little documentation, paperwork, talk with them about what we do. A lot of times he is the first set of eyes on the home to give us an idea of, you know, the homeowner called about this, but there's really another need here that we need to take care of. So we'll do a vetting of the homeowner in person. And then after that, we'll assess the project if we think it's going to be a volunteer related project. Some projects we do, we don't really put volunteers on roofs. So if it's a roofing project, we're going to immediately refer that out to a trade partner that we have who works with us and gives us a discount because he really believes in the work of NeighborLink. So in that case, it might not receive an assessment, but in most cases, one of our volunteers, sometimes one of our staff team, sometimes me, will go out and assess that project and see how big it is, how many people it's going to take, things like that. So I think the next slide, we have a little bit more info about our client criteria. So our client criteria is 62 or older. We are flexible on our criteria with citation cases. As Lisa shared earlier, our goal is to intervene and to help with critical home repairs. With a citation, every repair is critical because if that citation is not resolved, that homeowner ultimately is gonna continue to have to deal with visits from the health department. Ultimately, they might find themselves in a case where they're facing fines, and in a case where they cannot afford to resolve the issue. That can create a real challenge to being able to stay in their home. And I will say, Lisa mentioned we have a great partnership with the health department. I was actually at a homeowner's home today, myself, a couple of our staff team, and several lead volunteers meeting with a public health inspector and another member of their team and a homeowner to try and work out a solution with an issue she had with yard debris, and trying to work out what needed to go, what didn't need to go, how we could do enough at this point to satisfy them while we continue to work so that the homeowner is able to stay in their home. So we do have a great relationship with them. They love what we do because they don't want to just cite things. They want actually people to be able to resolve those things. So anyway, back to client criteria. So 62 years old, some flexibility with citation cases because we know those are critical. If it's a homeowner with a disability, they just have to be over 18. They do need to own a home, own the home. That doesn't mean the home has to be paid off, but it has to be in their name. So we don't work with renters. That's we only with homeowners that own the home, and we don't require homeowners insurance for us to come and work. Our service area is for non-citation projects. It is north of Washington Street and within the 465 loop. So that's our area for a general call when someone calls and says, I need a handrail. We will work within that area. If it is a citation, then we will work anywhere in Marion County. So sometimes we end up pretty far south because we have homeowners that are cited down that way. But we find that even within that service area, there is more need even than our capacity is to take care of. So as far as income, homeowners need to have a gross monthly income at or below 150% of the poverty level. So that's $1,600 a month for single, or $2,177.50 for two incomes combined. So many of our homeowners, this is their entire income. They have very little left over. They've been in these homes for a long time. Many of them have owned the homes outright. They've been passed down family member to family member, but they do not have the finances to be able to resolve the issues. Sometimes the issues really are issues that aren't particularly big, but for somebody who's on that income and in that age bracket, they're just not something they're able to take care of. And we do update those figures every time the federal poverty level comes out. Obviously, that's revised every year. We do revise those numbers as well. So I'll talk a little bit more now about what we do. And I think we've got another slide on that. So we do a lot of group projects. Like Lisa said, it was an incredible year with groups, everything from youth groups to college students, to churches and neighborhood associations, to a motorcycle club that actually volunteered with us twice. And so we do all kinds of group related stuff. The majority of that is exterior painting, large exterior cleanups outdoors, gutter repair and cleaning, collapsed structure removal. So we've got a couple of guys who will come out and cut up that structure, and then we'll bring a group out, bring a dumpster out and load all that into a dumpster. So those are our main group projects. They tend to be great opportunities for groups to come out. Sometimes it involves just clearing away a lot of brush, cutting back. We don't cut trees down, but if a tree has fallen and it's not too big for us to handle, we will cut that up and haul it away. Just all kinds of things like that. And large cleanup outdoors also would include the kind of projects like the one I was on today, where we've got a homeowner that has significant trash and debris in their yard that's kind of built up and needs to be thrown away. So, so those are the majority of our group projects. On the next slide, you will see our handy, volunteer, and paid professional kind of specialties. So these are all things that we work on and or repair. Some of them are specifically done by professionals. Like I mentioned, roofing is a great example. HVAC is another, at least with furnaces. We have an HVAC company that partners with us. We also work with Citizens and AES because they both have programs that have money in them to help homeowners do furnace replacements. There's some criteria on that, and I know those programs tend to have pretty full waiting lists, but a lot of times our homeowners will qualify for those programs. So a lot of times we will refer and then kind of help them work through the process. But the things we repair include windows. Generally, that's more older windows than newer windows. Wood frame windows are actually very easy for us to repair, put additional glass in. Doors, when we can, sometimes we end up replacing exterior doors. Walls and ceilings, we do on a very limited basis because our goal is to complete critical home repairs. We want to make sure we resolve the issue, but we have to use our judgment in discussing how much resolving the issue versus making the repair look perfect. So we would say this is not a cosmetic repair we're seeking to do. We're obviously not going to leave things a mess, but it's not going to look like a perfect, look like it was never there necessarily. But we do walls, ceilings, some work on floors. And then we do not build ramps because SAWS does such a good job of that, but we do repair ramps when we can. We do a lot of other accessibility modifications. So a lot of times that involves installing exterior and sometimes interior handrails, grab bars. We do a lot of front step handrails. We've got a real good system down for that. HVAC is another one. We do repairs both in the winter and try to do AC repairs when we can in the summer. We don't generally have the budget to do full replacements on ACs. Sometimes if a homeowner is in specific need, we'll help them with a temporary solution like a window unit. We do electrical repairs, plumbing repairs. That includes from time to time replacing water heaters and replacing toilets. Those are two of the big issues we see. A leaking toilet is probably one of the best metaphors for the issues that we face as we go out as NeighborLink to try and help homeowners. Because if your toilet is leaking and you don't have the $75 or $90 to pay a plumber to come and fix that toilet, it's going to leak for 2 or 3 or 4 years, at which point the floor is going to start to rot. There's going to be mold. There's going to be much more significant issues. So our goal is if we can get in and resolve that issue on the front end, in some ways, it's a small repair, but it's a very critical one because it prevents much more significant damage from happening. Roof patches and repairs. So we have a roofing company. They don't do full roof replacements. That's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're able to do, but they do a lot of patching, flashing, things that will resolve leaking issues, at least for the medium term. Water in basements, the main way that we address that there, we will do exterior grading. So we'll bring in dirt and help slope the dirt away from the home so that water runs away. And also through making sure gutters are working properly, downspout diverters are installed. We'll do that as well. And as Lisa mentioned, we do citation remediation. We have a volunteer who specifically works with the Department of Public Health. Her main job is to assess projects, communicate with them, let them know what we're doing, how we're doing it, how that process is going. As long as they know progress is being made, generally they will back off. It's when they don't hear anything week after week, month after month, that they start to become concerned. And a lot of times those citations move through the process and get closer to court. So that's a little bit more about what we do. There is one other piece that I wanted to share with you all, and it's an exciting development that started just this year. So there is an organization called the Indianapolis Construction Roundtable Foundation. They do job training for adults. Primarily, they try to provide this job training for adults who have had difficulty finding employment. They may have had past encounters with the criminal justice system. There may be other reasons why they've really struggled to find employment. This program that they've been doing for a number of years includes 8 weeks of in-class work that helps train them to become a construction professional. At the end of that 8 weeks, they match those students with professional construction companies and help them find jobs. Well, the exciting thing is through a grant through the Lilly Foundation, we are now a part of that program and we provide an on-the-job work experience. So previously that class was only classroom based, and now they get to come out to our projects. In fact, we've got another cohort starting tomorrow, and we'll have a group of between 8 and 10 students. Male, female, some of them are right out of high school. Some of them have been working in some capacity for a really long time, and they come out and we teach through the things that they're learning in the classroom and help them gain skills. So it's a great opportunity for us. It's a great opportunity for them to be able to serve the community, and ultimately it's giving them the skills they need to find jobs and to continue to better themselves. So really exciting things going on with NeighborLink. This has been an incredible year. A lot has happened, a lot of really good things, a lot of really exciting things. So excited to kind of continue the conversation with you all and see what it could look like for us to work together. So at this point, I will go ahead and open it up a little bit to any questions you might have about what's been shared so far. So feel free, I don't know, Sharon, if you want to do hand raising or how you want to do that, but Lisa and I are happy to answer some questions.
Yeah, so thanks, Jonathan. So we did have a couple questions already in the chat, so maybe we should start there.
Sure.
Jeff asked a question. He asked about the capacity. Is it limited by funding, availability, amount of volunteers, or a combination of both?
So, you know, a lot of it depends on what kind of a project we're talking about. Electrical work is a great example. We have one electrician that works with us currently, and he has a very limited capacity. So generally, we try to only keep between 6 and 8 projects in our queue at a time because we don't want them to build up. We close to things like outdoor projects actually right around this time. So we're not taking any exterior painting projects until the beginning of next year. Because obviously they would just sit, they wouldn't get done. We wouldn't be able to move any further on them. In some cases, there are funding challenges. I mentioned earlier the furnace replacement program. We have recently gotten some news that, and I kind of made mention of it already. We replaced, working with citizens, a number of furnaces last year for homeowners. This year, it sounds like they have a really long waiting list and not as much money as they did last year. So it's looking like there may be fewer of those. And so those might be something that NeighborLink is either looking to fund or going to try and find some funds to do, but we wouldn't be able to do as much, as citizens did last year. So it really kind of varies project to project.
I think also, just to add to that, Jonathan, the issue with roofing, you know, we repair roofs, but we don't replace roofs, and yet we get a lot of calls on that. And so, you know, that is something that's on our radar as we look for resources in the future. What might be funding sources to do that? Because the bad roof leads to so many other problems that just continue to snowball for a homeowner and become even more critical. So that's a particular area that we have need to get support for.
Yeah, and our director of client relations, a lot of times will work with homeowners when it's determined they need a full roof replacement. He'll help connect them with INHP because INHP sometimes has some funding for those kinds of things. So when we get to a place where we're not able to do the repair or the repair is outside of our scope of funding, we do try to refer homeowners and sometimes even help them move through. One particular homeowner had homeowners insurance, currently does not. We're trying to help him get that reinstated because you can't apply for INHP help if you don't have homeowners insurance. So we try to help homeowners and connect them with whatever resources we can.
Perfect. Jeff, was there a follow-up on that, or should we move on to the next question?
No, I think you can move on to the next one. I may follow up with Lisa offline, just have a longer conversation.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Perfect. And then to Lisa, I hope I'm saying your name right, asked a question about resources specific for veterans. And so I asked a clarifying question, thinking of, I think she may be thinking of vets that don't meet the other criteria. And so she confirmed that she thought there would be resources for disabled vets that need services that live in Marion County.
Yes, and you did say my name correct.
Thank you.
I'm hoping everybody can hear me okay. I just know that there's, you know, veterans out here that do own their home. However, they're not able to get the services that Neighborhood Link is offering. And I just put that question out there to say, and they may not meet those income guidelines because, of course, they are disabled vets and they may be over income based on their disability rating. However, they're definitely in need of these services. So I was just wondering, is that something's going to be down the line, or is that something that can be considered, you know, in the process?
I know, Lisa, didn't we discuss that Rebuilding Together has some resources specifically geared towards veterans?
Yeah, they do. But it's my understanding, because we were working currently with a veteran, and those funds were spoken for. So, they must have been on the limited side. I do know through the years, though, we have worked really closely. Oftentimes, we are connected with veteran homeowners through the VA's social workers, and they're very familiar with NeighborLink, and so they've been able to connect us with them. But you bring up a good point, Talisa, and I think that I've made note of that, excuse me, that we need to look at what other resources are out there as we continue to move forward with our impact.
Absolutely.
So
What
much.
are there other questions?
Talisa, did you have a follow-up that you wanted to share? Okay, I see in the chat.
I just wanted to say thank you. I just know it's a great need for veterans out there. And I'm just, as a community builder, I do see a lot of veterans in certain situations. And one, they may be, on the home loan, that kind of thing with their spouse or whatever, or they may own a home. However, individuals with disabilities, they have an income. However, based on their ratings of their disability, they may be over income. So therefore, they're kind of pushed to the side because they're over income because of their ratings. And so I was just reaching out to you guys, asking a question. Is there something, on down the pipeline, for veterans who are sitting in this type of seat that needs, these type of resources, which I think is great for everybody, but, I'm just looking, for assistance for veterans with disabilities.
I'm glad you brought that to our attention, Talisa, because that's not something that I know we've discussed a whole lot. Like Lisa said, we have absolutely worked with a number of homeowners that were veterans, but thinking about it in that way is something that we definitely could do more of. So thank you for bringing that up for us.
Thank you. And just one more follow-up question to that. And I do understand, you presented the guidelines very well. And this is something that I will forward on to a greater audience. What about individuals who do own a home? However, they're taking care of someone who has a disability. Okay. And therefore, it may be one income in that home, which is like a disability monthly payment. But the homeowner does not have the disability. It's the person that they're taking care of have the disability. And so how do you address that?
So we would look if someone in the home has a disability and the total home income still meets our criteria, then it's okay if they themselves are not the homeowner. So in a case like that, we would, just like if we had, we've had this happen before where, it's a mother and a daughter living, they have, it's a single income, maybe it's the mother's Social Security, the mother is, 75 years old. Those kind of situations, we would absolutely consider that as kind of like one income, even though the home may not necessarily be in her name, as long as, that home is the primary residence of those two as well. That's one other thing that wasn't real clear in our guidelines. We do occasionally, we have homeowners who want us to come work on their home, but they have another residence somewhere else. And generally we say that's not a situation where we could get involved there, simply because we have a lot of homeowners that don't have anywhere else they could live. And we want to make sure we help those homeowners first. But yeah, in the case you described, we would look at the age of the senior or the disability of the homeowner, and then the total income, and then go from there.
Well, and just to add further clarification to that, Talisa, that any individual in the home who has a disability qualifies us to come out as long as they are 18 or older. So in other words, we're not coming to a home where there may be young children with a disability, and that's, you know, the criteria that is being evaluated. The individual in the home that has a disability must be 18 or older. And as Jonathan said, they do not need to be the homeowner, but they do need to be an adult.
That is great information. And thank you so much, Jonathan and Lisa. That is so helpful. Thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome. And I noticed someone just asked about the job training program. I'm actually about to put in the chat the link to that program with all the information, how to enroll. There is not a specific age group. I believe you have to be 18 to enroll. I'm not positive on that, but there aren't other age restrictions other than that. So there's a lot of info there. If you reach out to them and for some reason you're having trouble getting in contact, we'd be happy to connect you. We work with their team, the team over at Construction Roundtable a lot. So I'm going to put that link in the chat right now.
Okay, if there aren't any more questions, we'll go ahead and get to the discussion part because we do want to keep on time here for all of you. You know, we, as we said, we are really interested in looking at how we can work more directly in the neighborhoods that we serve. And I think, you know, all of you care very much about stabilizing your neighborhoods, the overall integrity of your neighborhoods. And what oftentimes happens is when a neighbor can't keep up their home anymore, then it becomes a real issue of challenging their home ownership. They become potentially subject to getting approached for you know, by a developer or whatever. And so how we can work together, find out more specifically about the homes that you have. And we know that many of you keep track, you have homeowner repair programs, or you have senior programs. You have ways to connect more directly to homeowners. And we would like to work with you to find out how to do that more effectively and more impactfully as we move forward. Because as we shared earlier, this need is only going to continue to grow. And I think that one of the things that's very important, it's impressed me again with working with NeighborLink clients, how many times we have a client who has owned their home for 30 or 40 years and they inherited their home when they were 18. And so, you know, being able to have a stable home, sometimes this is the key to home ownership for families in our neighborhoods across the community. And so keeping them in good shape when they don't have the resources to do that is what we're very interested in making more of a difference with. So some ideas that we wanted to throw out to you is just a couple of things, and I'll actually jump down first to the second bullet point. Boo, home repair doesn't have to be scary, is a special event that we held for the first time. Yes, this past Saturday, we brought out 50 volunteers, tackled 12 different homeowner projects for 11 homeowners across our community. We were in Martindale, Brightwood, we were in Forest Manor, we were on the near west side, we were in Arlington Woods, we were across the community. And as we look for next year, we would like to look at how we could tackle some streets where we could bring out neighbors and volunteers together to look at making improvements in the community. So that's just something that's one idea that we have, but the one that we would really like to start a conversation around, as we've said several times, we are focused on critical home repairs, but oftentimes those critical home repairs could have been prevented if there was the typical kind of home maintenance work that many of us do on our homes. Gutter repair is a huge request that we get. We can't even handle all the gutter repair jobs that we get in a year. And so our thought is we need to get ahead of the game here and look at how we can prevent that. So the idea of gutter cleaning initiatives, we've had multiple volunteer groups out this year. It's been a popular and easy project to do that we think could happen very easily in neighborhoods with the right partners, and pooling our resources together to accomplish that. Because if you can get ahead of the game by getting the gutters cleaned, and I think we should probably also be talking about what would it take to put in gutter guards so that it's more of a one and done kind of effort. We could go a long way in helping protect the integrity of the overall integrity of a home. So some of the things, just kind of prompts for you, is just how might we identify and vet neighbor clients. We've shared our criteria with you, so maybe hearing from all of you a little bit about how you maintain resources with your particular organizations, how you know certain things about senior homeowners, and do you have homeowner repair repair programs, that kind of thing. How might we recruit neighbor volunteers? Who could be potential partners? Looking at, we're going to launch something like this. We want to look at how do we make it sustainable? So what kind of training would we need? Tools, grants, considering if we're doing the gutter cleaning initiative, we could have a ladder lending library housed in a CDC or a local church. So those are just some prompts that Jonathan and I would now just love to hear you sort of share your thoughts with us, challenges, interests, that kind of thing.
Hi, this is Amina Pearson from Martindale Brightwood Community Development Corporation. So glad that you guys, I'm so happy that you guys have put this together, and just to hear that it is everywhere. We do home repair through the Federal Home Loan Bank, and we just started this year, the end of the year. A few we will do through CDBG own occupied repair. So that one is a 30-year deferred, no interest loan. But the Federal Home Loan Bank grant, you may be familiar with, is a grant. It does not have to be paid back. It's not a lien on your property, and it's for accessibility and weatherization. We complete about 25 homes a year, but we get about 135 applications a year. So we have a waiting list of about 75 people every time we get started. And we start putting the packets together in March, even though the program starts in May, because we want to assist the residents with getting their paperwork in and making sure that they have everything and that they're actually eligible for it. So we desperately need other resources. I'm on the Citizens Stakeholder Alliance. So I just found out this year that they also have the free furnaces. They have a waiting list, but we're on it, and hopefully we can combine that with our program now. Like if someone needs a roof and a furnace, we can do the roof and get the furnace from Citizens or whoever else may have something available. It's heartbreaking to go back and tell maybe 50 people got through with their packets, and after the money runs out, we have to call them back. And I understand the frustration and the anger, and where did it go wrong? Were you too slow? Were we too slow? And so it's rewarding to hear the people who were able to get their repairs, but the ones who didn't, you just feel bad. There's nothing that it's a hard situation.
You're right.
But I love the idea about ladder sharing and gutter cleaning and education about preventive maintenance. That is amazing and a wonderful idea.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay. Hi, Ashley Gerbitz with United Northeast Community Development Corporation. I think Amina said it best. For, I guess, the collective group's decision is I think sometimes, and I'll be very real and frank, our neighborhood has been always seen the sides of disinvestment. So when opportunities come and the ability to, have the adequate amount of resources, so more homeowners are able to get those maintenance things, it's been very hard, to feel like there's enough, capacity to have the metrics of X amount of number of, roofs or repairs, I think individually. So we can grow the pot and assist more residents. But Amina hit it right on the spot. Those no's have its ripple effects. And so to identify, as a whole, what we can do more on a coordinated basis when we do see those early indications. And, I think previously shared as well, like if there is, again, an access point with the gutter cleaning program, how do we most maximize that being the primary activity, but the entry point into sustainability and the longevity of seeing a collective of our housing continuum be served, right? So across the board where we know, like we have Miss Cecilia and other residents that are on the line, they know where those homes are. How do we see that there's better connections of residents with these partnerships? And then I think it's better documentation of the true issues that these nodes are hurting us all. And if one organization alone can't do it, is there better strength and power so we can serve more and not feel like either a CDC catchment or a service catchment is keeping people from getting everything that they need to feel like they're able to survive and thrive in all the other aspects our communities are starting to see. So I'm all for whatever, from a CDC aspect we can do to help that collective vision. And even as well, if it means some type of standing space for the east side, northeast. I mean, our residents don't know boundaries, but they know their need. So the more we can foster our power through partnerships together and coordinate efforts, it would be a great honor to support your work and any other work and advocacy that may be needed. And I'll share this lastly. There was the idea, right, where you all have like great relationships when code enforcement may come, but maybe it's that extra reinforcement by other partners. So how do we even look at those no's as additional opportunities so we get more yeses? And if it's an adjacent property, there's issues. I mean, we work together in its coordination, so there's better care. And that alone, it will probably be our best way of activating trust. That more of our residents can see us fighting for them and our ability that, hey, our collective work is to try to help diminish those no's, and we can really dissolve these system issues so everybody can feel like they're able to thrive and grow and age in place to their best ability.
So well said, Ashley. Thank you.
Hi, this is Cecilia Dotson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. I have a hard time with this sometimes. I think this is a great idea, and I really would like for our neighborhood association to work with you in some way. I'm going to try and get that information out. We are a small neighborhood association, so we're not a CDC or anything large like Martindale, Brightwood, or Unique for that matter. And we have a lot of seniors, and my issue with the seniors is that they just don't seem to get the information. And so I would love to work with a group and try to figure out how we can get this information to them. They qualify, a lot of them. They have things that need to be done, repairs and things that need to be done with their property, but they just don't understand, and they don't seem to be able to understand, get the information. So, and another question I have, a question I had was turnaround time. What's your normal turnaround? Do you have an idea about how long it takes you when you get a request for repairs? How long does that take?
Yeah, that's a great question. So generally, if it is something that's going to be large enough for a group to tackle, that turnaround time, generally we are scheduling projects about a month out, simply from a logistics perspective, making sure we have the groups, we have the people, we have the resources. So that plus the vetting on the front end is probably between 4 to 6 weeks. Now there are cases where especially with a citation case, some citation cases have languished for a long time and they're in danger of going to court. Sometimes we're able to kind of move things around to move that up. But in a lot of other cases, especially like smaller handy jobs like installing a handrail or passing off to our roofer or the HVAC company that works with us, those generally go faster, but a lot of that's contingent on how busy they are, because most of them basically, they don't make a whole lot of money off of the jobs they do for us. They do them because they believe in our mission. So sometimes when they're busy, they don't get to our jobs as quickly as possible. But in general, from getting the initial call, that vetting follows shortly thereafter. One of the challenges that may kind of connect with some of the stuff that you all have already said is that sometimes we have trouble getting back in touch with those homeowners because we call them to go out to do the vetting, and either they don't pick up phone numbers they don't recognize, which makes perfect sense, but sometimes we're really unable to reach them, or their voicemail doesn't work, or they've changed phone numbers, or their phone service has been disconnected. So sometimes that requires ultimately like trying to schedule time to go out, just knock on the door and see if they're home. So sometimes we do experience challenges there just in moving through that part of the process. But in general, that's sort of our timeline. We try very hard to keep things flowing, and we will, if we feel like we're getting a large backlog of a type of project, we will generally, when homeowners call, we'll say, hey, we're temporarily closed to this type of project because in our minds, the wait time is going to be too long. And we don't want to say yes to you now when we've got a bunch of people we've said yes to that we need to make sure they get taken care of. So we try to manage that as best we can.
Thank you.
So before, Cecilia, I just wanted to quickly ask you, what is your neighborhood association?
For Audubon Gardens.
Okay.
And one other question was, is there an age limit to the people? If we were to put together, which we're trying to do for next year, volunteer groups to go out and do some neighborhood cleaning in our neighborhood, but we'd be happy to, join others. Is there an age requirement?
Yes, we minimum age requirement is 12. And we have to have appropriate number of adult volunteers with anyone that is a minor, and there is no upper limit. I will say that at our Boo event on Saturday, we had a volunteer register on the spot, and he was 84 years young.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we're coming to the end here on our time, and I know we want to talk about next steps. I know that quite a few of you expressed interest in the chat room, and Sharon's going to be sending me that information, and I will be reaching out to you. As you know, our client services number that was on several of the slides, that's a number that you can actively share or post. But as Jonathan said, we are, for our exterior projects right now, we are closing them down this week, and we will reopen them, or we'll start taking requests again in February. HVAC requests, those are something that can be coming in now. Again, our client services team, our phone intake people are very good at explaining what can be taken care of at this time, or that we can put somebody on a waiting list. But we really try to balance, and Amina was talking about this with their own waiting list. It's very hard when you have a long waiting list to keep that going. So we choose to, at a certain point, cut off intake for certain types of projects, and then we reopen them again. So that will all be communicated through the phone line. In regards to the gutter cleaning initiative, what we would like to do moving forward, we piloted it a little bit this past year, but would like to do a more robust pilot of that. And so we will be looking for neighborhood organizations, associations that are willing to potentially partner with us so that we can really have a robust learning opportunity as well. I think you also brought it up, Cecilia. So much of the challenge with working with our senior homeowners is they're either not aware of what are resources out there, or just even trying to connect with them can be a challenge. So that will be something we will be learning during this pilot process. But our goal is to look at how do we create something that can be sustainable within the neighborhood and can have more direct neighborhood engagement. And so I think we will be looking to hear who has expressed interest, what kind of partners we can bring to the table to do it. I think the problems, the challenges, they're challenges, not problems. The challenges are too great for any one organization. And as we said, this is only going to continue to grow. So we need to be finding new, more collaborative ways to work together to increase impact. So we'll be in touch.
Perfect. What I will ask is if anyone that's still on the call is interested in being maybe a partner with the Gutter Initiative pilot. So you have a group of neighbors that you think would want to walk around and see what their neighbors may need and knock on the door and say, hey, if you'd be willing, we will bring the ladders and the supplies and we'll come repair your gutters or clean them out or put on the shields. If you think you might want to be a part of that this coming spring, please put your name in the chat or say that you're interested. So then that way Lisa and Jonathan know that that's something that you're interested in as well. I know that was one of the things that when Lisa and I were talking about this session, I just got really excited about. I thought, we hear all the time churches and neighbors walking the streets and wanting to get to know neighbors. Why not just look to see what gutters need a little bit of support and meet a neighbor and help them out? And then it doesn't feel so intimidating, right? You don't have the Board of Health. You don't have even a big truck showing up, showing that you needed help. You just have some neighbors lending a hand. So I really appreciate all of you. I'm going to send an email that's going to have a short evaluation that helps INRC know what types of sessions you want to see. It's also going to have the PowerPoint attached as well as the link for the project that Jonathan talked about. I forget what it's called.
BY Plus.
BY Plus. I'll have that in there. And then I'll share the chat with Lisa and Jonathan as well. So anything that you put in there, they'll have access to, as well as your contact information. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it. And please enjoy your evenings.
Yeah. Can I just add, if you are putting your name in the chat as being interested, if you can identify what neighborhood association or CDC or who you're affiliated with, if it isn't clear from your email address. Thank you all for your time tonight and your questions and interest.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. I'm going to stop the record actually and stop sharing.